Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, February 19th, 2019 meeting of the Hampstead School Board.
Jason Cipriano,
Here.
Caitlin Parnell,
Here.
James Sweeney,
Here.
Karen Yasenka,
Here.
and Pinkerton Academy Student Liaison Emma Johnston.
Here.
Thank you. And also seated at the board table is Assistant Superintendent Dr. Roxanne Wilson.
Here. Thank you. Can you please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes. You'll notice we have two sets from January 22nd, a regular meeting and a non-public. Once you've had a chance to review it, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion to accept the meeting minutes from January 22nd, both the public and non-public minutes.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments?
None tonight.
None? Okay. Well, I have an announcement. I would just like to say that it is with much regret that we accept the resignation of Kathleen Abruzzese. She has been a valued member of this board. Her contributions will be greatly missed, and we wish her well in her future endeavors. Administrative reports and highlights. Mr. Collins.
Dig out my report. It seems like I wrote it weeks ago, but it actually was. Just want to go through a few little changes to the report, just to update a few things. Our enrollment has now reached 487. I reported 483 a couple weeks ago, so it just continues to grow. The town pantry, I actually got a chance to walk through it with some of the Central School staff members that have been working with them on some programming ideas that we're working on. It's beautiful. They did a very nice job. I guess they found $40,000 within their funds from their parish, from the donations that have been put together to make this happen. And they did a beautiful job on the inside of the structure and the outside of the structure, setting it up and attaching it and all. They also are using some of our old library furniture from the middle school to make use of it, because that's been part of the replacement project we've been working on. So we're making good on a bunch of stuff. So they've done a very nice job setting up a lovely food pantry for this community. And I just want to give thanks to Jim Carey, the guy that's kind of the main cog behind it, but very, very nicely done, and it's going to serve this community very well. I mentioned mid-year information to the families. Both schools will be sending out reports to families with Dibbles and iReady information. It'll vary by grade level, but that'll be sent to the parents through some sort of a message. We'll send you like the email thing to let you know to expect the reports, but they'll be coming out of the school offices this week, probably tomorrow. Kindergarten, the numbers are in. We've already got 65 children that have been pre-registered for kindergarten, 21 for preschool. That's actually about where we typically are at this time of the year. So if parents want to pre-register, it's right on our website. Information open house, we had our first one on Monday afternoon. We had a few visitors and got to meet some new friends and give a couple tours around the building. The time capsule, we were going to open it on Monday of this week, but for a variety of reasons, we've postponed it, and we will be opening it March the 5th. We pushed it till after the vacation just for a variety of things. I mentioned that we were going to do the New Hampshire Eddies We actually had a presentation today up at the Southern New Hampshire University. We actually had the students present. They knocked it out of the park. I think they were wonderful. Our staff wrote the script for the presentation, and the kids were just nailed it. And then had a little drum ensemble to put a little cap on it, but I'm very proud of our students of what they did today. Looking ahead into March, we do have some Destination Imagination teams from Hampstead Central and Middle School. March 16th, if anybody wants to go hang out, I think it's somewhere up in Manchester at Memorial High School. So put that on your calendar. If you're going to hang out on a Saturday, I'll probably see a couple you guys there. You may be involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins.
Lynn Joseph will be doing the report in lieu of Maria, who is getting better, and we hope to see her after the vacation week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
We have a total of 385 students at the moment. Few things to report out. Mr. Kevin Fisher recently won the State Veterans of Foreign War Middle School Teacher of the Year Award. He received that on January 19th at the Bektash Shrine Center in Concord. Our parents were notified via our February newsletter of the Hampstead School District's updated policy of the requirements for designated volunteers, so we sent all that information out to parents already. Mr. Garrity gave a great presentation at our school recently called Bridging the Gap, Helping Students Succeed in School and Life. Our PTSA generously donated the money for this. They also donated money to purchase a portable sound system for our school, which is awesome, and we've been using it already. The parents met with Mr. Garrity on February 7th and learned how to help students succeed in school and life. There was a small group of parents there, but his talk was inspirational. The students came with their parents, and we had a great time at that presentation. He also had spoken to our students a month before and had them eating out of the palm of his hands. He was awesome. Social worker update, Mrs. Barbic has been an integral part of our team. She's been working with our guidance counselors, with our staff, parents, students, and our community, providing resources for all constituents to help our students be more successful. This year, the 8th grade and 5th grade joined with 2 million students worldwide to participate in the Peace Crane Project, which promotes peace and understanding by connecting students around the world. Our 8th graders have been working with the 5th graders to fold origami paper cranes and we'll be sharing them with a classroom of pen pals in Canada. We had our Q2 Hawk Awards recently, and our Hawk Awards are to recognize students that go above and beyond in regards to respect, responsibility, and relationships. The Hawk Awards demonstrate a student's overall citizenship and character, specifically notable to their teachers and staff members here at the middle school. And they all received certificates, some recognition, and a Toss and Sauce gift card. We actually had, I believe, 18 awards for Q2. Tuesday, January 29th, our parents attended an informational meeting with our 8th grade teachers about the upcoming Washington, D.C. field trip. The teachers will be meeting with the parents again in the next few months to provide more details for them, but they just wanted to meet with them to get the deposit and get the ball rolling and to give them some information about the trip. For our winter sports, for the updates, all of our basketball teams placed in the playoffs, and it was a great season for all of our athletes. We had our student-faculty basketball game last Friday, and I'm happy to announce the staff did win, 55-51, and I'm pretty sure the 2 points that I scored helped push us in that direction for winning. And 2 weeks ago, our cheerleaders performed at the Nashua South Tri-County competition, and they placed second. And last Saturday, they also participated in, I believe it's called the Astro Blast in Pinkerton, and also placed second. So we're proud of our winter athletes. Does anybody have any questions for me?
No.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you
right,
very much.
Thank you very much.
Emma, you want to tell us what's happening at Pinkerton?
Yes. So the first issue of the Clock Tower Times, written by the headmaster, was released last Friday, February 15th, and this is a monthly update on what's going on at Pinkerton. It can be found on the Pinkerton website. Some highlights include the National Technical Honor Society inductions, winter sports updates, and clubs and organization updates. And then finally, he also discussed the recent stay-in-place that we had, or 2 stay-in-places held to ensure the safety of the students. And the first one was on February 6th, and the second was February 11th. So then some winter sports updates. The boys indoor track and field placed first for the state, and the girls placed third, and gymnastics also placed first for the state. Students from Student Council recently attended the LEAD conference in Washington, D.C. and met with councils from all over the country, learning new leadership skills, and made presentations of their own about interview skills and different leadership techniques. Also coming up on March 6th, students will be taking the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, which anonymously has students answer questions about their health to learn more about the population of the school. On March 7th, Student Council is hosting Mr. Pinkerton, and it's a competition for Pinkerton's most outgoing male students, and it should be a great night filled with lots of fun and comedy. Looking at the end of March, students will be taking the SATs on March 27th, and finally, Pinkerton students will be performing Singing in the Rain in the Stockbridge Theater from March 22nd to the 24th.
We received copies, I did, of the newsletter. Yeah, it was
I would
nice
just
to
point
get
out that the indoor track team that's now won 7 of the last 8 championships is coached by Hampstead native Ian French.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I don't know if he was your, he was like a year,
younger than me.
I was going to say he was a little bit behind me at Pinkerton, but so.
Okay. Current business? Mr. Gary.
All right, thanks for inviting me tonight to give you updates on the Sustainability Committee and also the Facilities Master Plan that I've been working on. So I will start out with the Sustainability Committee, also known as the Green Committee, the Recycling Committee, and about 5 other names for it. So basically, we have a dedicated group, consists of myself, former board member, as I learned tonight, Hsdsb, Mr. Collins, Ms. Joseph, Ms. Rodriguez, Ms. Griffin, and Ms. Cabral from our community representative. We've had very good discussions for the past few months, focused around sustainability overall, whether it's being environmentally responsible, fiscally responsible, and seeing what changes we can make to be a more sustainable school district. So in your packet, you'll notice that I've mentioned some deliverables that we've kind of taken from our conversations and looking to complete these by April 15th. One is to secure a new waste recycling hauling contract. I believe we keep extending with waste management, but we're going to put together a different package with the help of Ms. Cabral, who's volunteered to assist me with that, to see if we can get better pricing and better service. Not to say that our current vendor isn't offering that, but you know, we will put that out and see if we can get anything better. Also, you'll see formalized procurement procedures for building products, and that falls under my realm. So if all things are equal cost and quality-wise, we'd look to source local materials the most we can. We'd look to use green seal products and you know, other environmentally responsible products. With the help of a local farmer, we are looking to launch a composting program. Mr. Collins reached out to a parent at the school, and we'll be able to start on a small scale by using some of the kitchen scraps and carting it to the farm that's in Hampstead, and they'll be able to use that on their farm. So that also cuts down on how much waste that we're hauling with our dumpster contractor. And then we'd also be looking at installing outdoor recycling containers at the middle school, because we have a need there with a lot of outdoor sports, especially in the spring and fall. I feel it would be responsible to install those at the school. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention a big conversation we had regarding sustainability, and one of those is our fuel consumption. And I brought up many times in the past that in the 1960s wing of the Hampstead Central School, we are literally throwing money and fuel oil out the windows and walls. So for a sustainable practice, I do hope that we see the project come to fruition. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that in my comments. And I guess that makes a good segue to get into the master plan. As you can see for the Central School, I've stated in this, what I just stated before, is the project that's been identified by the building committee for the Central School, and it addresses security upgrades, additional space, infrastructure improvements, and just overall educational improvements to help achieve our goals. So any master plan is going to include all of the hard work that we've put in the past few years developing this plan for Hampstead Central School. So that's done. A lot of the focus now of my work is going to be on the middle school. So what I've done, as you can see in your packet, we've inventoried all of our HVAC, electrical, plumbing equipment throughout the 2 schools, but I put a strong focus on the middle school, as I said. That's all logged into our computerized maintenance management system. So anytime we do a repair, that gets tracked to that piece of equipment. So that'll help us track to see if we can extend the life of certain equipment and then see which equipment we have to schedule for future replacement. And as you know, in the proposed budget, we do have some upgrades at the middle school in the classrooms. We have flooring upgrades, ceiling upgrades, and along with that will be fresh coat of paint in those classrooms that we're touching. In addition to that, also in the budget is an existing condition survey done by an engineering firm to help us identify future needs for our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing upgrades that will be needed in the future. That equipment is going to be coming on its life expectancy over the next 10 years. So to have an engineer help us design the right system to install when that system fails, this would be a wise use of funds. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have on those 2, I guess, projects that we're working on.
I have a question, I have a comment. Thank you for bringing this forward. I know you've been working on it. You don't always report on this on a regular basis.
Yep.
And since it was one of the goals, I'm glad to see that it has been worked on behind the scenes, and we're basically right up to where we should be at this point.
Yep.
So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Mrs. Bucco, school calendar.
School calendar. So tonight we're looking at draft 2 of the school calendar. Last month I presented draft 1. The only calendar change from the first draft to the second draft is the April early release day. We moved it from Thursday the 9th to Wednesday the 8th because Pinkerton has an early release day on the 9th. We're going to keep the early release day, the parent conference day, as is in November. I had further conversations with HEA, and they're fine with keeping it as is. So the early release day for middle school on the 14th will be parent conferences, and for central school will be professional development. And both schools will have parent conferences on that Friday. For February, the PD day, the 11th, we did make a comment in the very bottom box that date is subject to change due to the New Hampshire primary voting, so that everyone's aware of that. And that's pretty much it.
I think that's it. Those were the areas that we asked you to
Yes.
reconsider. And I think we're ready to have a motion and move this forward, adopt it for next year.
Yeah, I'll motion the board, excuse me, motion the board accept draft 2 of the Hampstead School District 2019-2020 school calendar. Second.
All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Next is the FLES program consultation timeline. You have in your packet a timeline that was developed in conjunction with Dillard Collins, Tara Lincini, and the consultant, and me. And we have outlined what we see are the steps of implementing a FLES program March of this year through June, and then July through 2019 through June 2020. So looking at what we'd like to accomplish between March and the end of this school year, our consultant is developing an informational brochure that will be ready for parents at the March kindergarten parent meeting. She will be working with me to develop an agenda and co-chair a FLES committee meeting. And we're putting this committee together, and membership will consist of the principal, assistant principal, 2 kindergarten teachers, Dr. Dancy, and the FLES teacher when this teacher is hired. The consultant's going to come to our March staff meeting to present an overview of FLES to the central school staff. The consultant will be developing a job description and the job posting for the FLES teacher, review applications with Dillard Collins, participate on the interviewing committee. We would like the consultant to take our our kindergarten teachers over to visit Timberlane's FLES program and take a couple of first grade teachers as well, so that we can see what the program actually looks like. And the consultant and I will present to the school board a FLES presentation by the end of May. And the consultant will also be reviewing our current curriculum, kindergarten curriculum, and develop the kindergarten FLES curriculum, and also work with me on the materials to be ordered for the fall. So we're looking at 15 consultation days and 10 curriculum days for March 2019 through the end of this school year. Then looking ahead, if our proposed budget is approved by the voters, we've developed a timeline for the coming school year. The consultant will develop some progress indicators for our report cards, develop some competencies, which would be similar to what we have in place for our other curriculum areas. Over the summer, work with a FLES teacher to review the curriculum, materials, program goals. And the consultant would also like to meet with the art and music teachers and the FLES teacher to talk about integration of FLES with art and music. Work with Dr. Dancy on posting our brochure, our program description, and curriculum on the district website. Work with the Director of Curriculum Instruction Assessment to continue those FLES meetings, FLES committee meetings. The consultant will also mentor the FLES teacher and observe the FLES teacher, but these observations are separate from our district's evaluation program. The consultant would be looking for such things as, is the teacher speaking Spanish properly? The consultant will be providing some quarterly executive summary reports to the school board, provide some professional development to our kindergarten teachers, unified arts teachers on common Spanish phrases that they can incorporate into their instruction if they so choose. Then moving on to March of next year, the consultant will develop an informational brochure for the first grade FLES program and have that available for parents. Hold an informational session for kindergarten, first grade parents to provide an overview of FLES. Arrange for some visitations for our first grade teachers to go over to Timberlane to observe the first grade FLES program and take a couple of second grade teachers as well. Present to the board in May of next year on how the first year went with implementing the program. Provide some training for our first grade teachers on the FLES implementation program for fall 2020. Hold a wrap-up meeting with Dillard to assess how it went in year one. And then look at our current first grade curriculum and develop the first grade FLES curriculum. So we would be looking at 40 consultation days and 10 curriculum development days for the coming school year. Do you have any questions about our timeline, our steps?
I'm glad to see that it's as comprehensive as it is and that it's moving along. If you remember, this was also one of the board goals. So I'm glad tonight we're hearing that 2 of these goals are being met and worked on. So I think that's good news.
Yes.
And personally, I'm very pleased that Spanish is going to be introduced into our schools. I think it's about time.
Agreed.
You know, I'd just like to say also, this is Jason's last meeting here with us, so I would be very happy if he would say more than agreed. This is your night to talk, okay?
You know, I used to talk a lot, and the meetings tended to get a little long, and I think some of the people here were at some of those meetings, and so I've learned over the years to interject as needed, but not
But
overwhelm.
we're going to let you express yourself tonight, okay?
Madam Chair, to go along with this, we would like to have a motion to agree to expend that $11,400 for this year's work at least. We have a contract, I know, that Mr. Dowd has been working on, a contract for the FLES consultant, and I think in the issue of transparency, you know, the consultant that we use is Beth Metzler. And she's been, I think, a wonderful resource for the program in Timberlane with the other elementary schools. And we want to continue that here and have seen a lot of positive growth with those students in the program. So I would like to have the board at least do a motion about this year's, because it's not in the budget.
Yep.
So with your approval, we'd like to have that motion.
I'll make the motion that the board authorize the superintendent to enter into a contract for FLES program consultation and development, and authorize not to exceed $11,500 for such services.
Second. Jim Sweeney, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you. And I also have our professional development master plan to present to you tonight for your approval. Every 5 years, each New Hampshire district has to prepare their 5-year professional development plan in accordance with the requirements established by the New Hampshire Department of Education. And our plan must first be approved by the school board before it goes up to the New Hampshire Department of Ed for their approval. So our plan was updated by our professional development committee, and on this committee we have representatives, classroom teacher representatives, special education teacher representatives, administrators, and we also have a teacher representative, and along with paraeducators. And our master plan addresses the establishment of the committee, the responsibilities of the committee, that we need to direct continuous professional development to increase educator effectiveness and improving the learning results for our students. Our master plan also addresses the role of the committee in assisting our certified educators to develop an individual professional development plan. And these plans are now going to be done in conjunction with our district's evaluation plan. So these plans are derived from the educator's self-assessment, their student learning objectives, annual goal setting, and student assessment data. And the plan also addresses in detail the recertification process for certified educators, which is based upon the completion of their individual professional development plan, as well as they have a choice of one of three options. The first option, they must accumulate a minimum of 30 continuing education hours for each certification that an educator holds, plus 45 hours that are focused on district building or personal goals. So they have to have a minimum of 75 hours. Or they can develop an in-depth project that would be equivalent to 75 hours. They have to present a plan to administrators, a very detailed plan. It's usually like a research project of some sort that's looking on something they want to improve within their classroom. And they have to present a written summary, and they have to present their project to some other educators. Or the third option, they can do a combination of a big project and hours. We also support our certified paraeducators. They also must complete a minimum of 30 hours for their para-certification and 20 hours directed towards district building or personal goals. So they have a minimum of 50 hours over a 3-year period that they must achieve. There is one significant change in this plan from our previous 5-year plan, and that is now we are marrying our individual professional development plans with our district teacher evaluation plans. Instead of people having 2 separate plans, we're now joining them together. So we altered the language in the master plan. And that's something that it was directed by the Department of Education. And we also made some minor wording changes because we no longer use My Learning Plan as our professional development master system. management system, excuse me. So we changed the wording to Teach Point or other district-approved professional development management system. And we also updated the last section of the master plan. It's called What Data, because teachers need to be looking at data as they develop their professional development plans. So, for example, we no longer have a state assessment in science at grade 4. We now have it in grade 5. So we made a few minor tweaks. So we're asking for your approval of this plan so it can be forwarded to the Department of Education for their approval. So I'm open to questions or comments about our professional development master plan.
Doris, it's my understanding that the Every Student Succeeds Act eliminated highly qualified teachers. Is that as a status or a designation? Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. I just remember from in the past that was
In the past,
a
yes.
designation that teachers might have. So.
But individual districts can still have that requirement. And we do look for certified people in every area that within the district. And if someone doesn't have a certification yet in a particular area, they can work with us in developing an alternative for a plan to achieve that certification.
So we have submitted one every 5 years
Every 5 years.
for review and approval.
Yes.
Has our particular plan ever not been approved?
No, it's never not been approved. It's always been approved.
Good job.
We follow the standards pretty closely, and we give options, which is what the state board is wanting to see.
Yes. And we have over 25 options that means of staff accumulating their hours, from mentoring, developing curriculum, attending workshops, taking courses, serving on committees, serving as a committee chair, doing action research.
I would think that at this point, most districts are pretty similar in what they're asking.
Ever since they changed, I think it was probably 10 years ago, in us being able to use job-embedded opportunities a lot more. I mean, the old notion of professional development was, let's go out and do a workshop outside the district. Now, it's very different. So we give a lot of opportunities to staff to be able to learn on the job and study in depth if there are certain things that they want to learn more about.
Right.
If there are no other questions, may I have a motion to approve this version?
So moved? Second.
All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
And thank you, Doris.
Thank you,
Thank you
Doris.
to the
Appreciate it.
Professional Development Committee who helped work on this. So I just wanted to send kudos out to them.
Mrs. Gallagher, the System of Care Progress Report.
Good
right?
evening, everyone. I'm here to give an update on the system of care. We have a committee of 15 members, and there's representation from both Hampstead Central School and Hampstead Middle School. The committee's been working to create a system of care that includes positive supports and resources to take care of all children, including those who may have mental health challenges or emotional needs. We've had 4 committee meetings so far: August 24th, October 5th, December 12th, and most recently, February 12th. And those were facilitated by Samantha Broadhead, who's a consultant through Ceresc that's been working with us. We have one more meeting, which will be in April, on April 9th. And to date, the committee has done quite a few things. We've drafted a mission statement. We've individually completed what's called a tiered fidelity inventory to see what we have in place for Tier 1 supports in both schools. We did it individually, and then we convened as a group and kind of compared notes and tried to come to a consensus. So now we're going a little bit deeper into that to say, what do we have that's working? Where are there gaps? How are we going to boost that and make it, a really comprehensive system of care? So I feel like we're doing a lot of fabulous work. Once we have finished with Tier 1, then we'll move on to Tier 2, which is, more targeted supports, and Tier 3 is even more in-depth. It's kind of that tiered system where Tier 1 is the universal supports that are available for all students.
So that's where we are right now, but we're making some nice headway with the work that we're doing. We have also been working on expanding community partnerships, and we've also tapped into the DOE. They have a Bureau of Student Wellness with an amazing amount of resources and videos and some other things that they're providing for free to districts. The other components that we've done is a lot of professional development. So in August, Dr. Wilson, Mrs. Denola, and myself attended a conference on trauma-informed schools. That was by Cassie Yackley, who's well-known within the state of New Hampshire. Julie Barbick, our new social worker, attended a youth mental health first aid workshop that was provided by the Department of Ed. That was in December. There was a presentation for staff and parents on the danger of vaping. That was at Hsdsb Middle School. That was January 4th. As Lynn Joseph mentioned, Ed Garrity did a presentation on helping students succeed in school and life. We then had Janessa DeLoe, who works very closely with Cassie Yackley. She came for one of our professional development days. That was February 7th. And interestingly, I didn't know this until the day Janessa came to do the presentation. She grew up in Hampstead and went through the school system, so that was actually quite nice. She did a phenomenal presentation. It was 3 hours long. I had numerous people go up to Janessa herself to say this was a fabulous PD. And throughout the week, I had several individuals come to me as well saying, boy, this was really important work and really worthwhile. So it was a lot of great feedback. And then we did provide a video presentation to the paras so that they were in the loop on that as well. And coming up, no, this was actually the last PD. So this was February 12th as well. Becky Sand, who is our preschool special ed teacher, she is also our in-house trainer for CPI, Crisis Prevention Institute. So she did part 1 for a group of paras, and it's all about non-physical de-escalation strategies, how to, get kids to calm down if they're upset. A lot of just great strategies and tools. So we're fortunate to have her as an in-house trainer. And that's it for the moment. The only thing that I have is a handout that Janessa DeLoe gave to everybody. It was about strategies on one side, and then on the other, there's a variety of different types of resources from videos, books, and whatnot. So I'll just leave you all with one of these.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the record. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, it's me, sorry. Based on our delayed meeting, I do want to put forward a motion to have us ratify the approval for the mailer we're going to be sending out regarding Article 2. That's going to be headed to every address in town at
Yeah.
the beginning of March, so everyone look for it. But we need to go ahead and ratify the cost of that, which is a not to exceed $2,000.
Correct.
Okay. So I'll make the motion to authorize expenditure not to exceed $2,000 to pay for mailers, brochures relating to Article 2. Second.
Always.
Any discussion?
Basically same mailer as previous years, I think.
Yep, slightly updated.
Yep, new numbers.
There's some new numbers.
Different format.
Okay.
A little bit different format.
It's going to be more like a brochure.
Yeah, in the past, we've done basically cardstock, a little bit thicker.
Yeah, like a postcard.
But we got some feedback that people wanted more information. It's basic, now we've got it in a brochure format. The back looks a little different than this to leave room for the address and everything, but it does give everyone a good look at what the renderings are like, what the new space we're adding and renovating will be. And it also has right on the brochure that if you want more information, has the school district website on it, so people can go there. And also mentions our open house on the 10th from 12 to 2.
Okay.
Excellent.
Since we're talking about the mailer, I have something that I just want to bring out. I think this is probably as a good a time as any. I want to do something for some clarification concerning concerning Article 2. There are only 21 days to go until we each have the opportunity to vote on March 12th. How each of us votes is a personal decision, and we have to respect that not everyone shares the same perspective, and not everyone will vote the same way. However, it's most important that everyone who votes takes the time to understand the issues and be an educated, well-informed voter. As for Article 2, the Central School Building Project, the board has provided opportunities to learn about the proposal and to ask questions of the entire construction team. There was a public hearing on January 8th and a deliberative session on February 5th. These videos are posted on the school district website for anyone who would like to hear them and see them. There was a coffee yesterday and a tour of Central School. There will be an open house and tours of Central School on Sunday, March 10th from 12 to 2. Brochures listing the highlights of the proposal like this are available in the schools and at the library, and I understand in some places of business. And as Caitlin just said, a mailer will be sent to every household in Hampstead, should be received on or before March 4th. The board, along with the administration, has provided many opportunities for Hampstead residents to learn about this proposal, both last year and again this year. What is of concern to me is the amount of misinformation that is floating around town. Some of it is ignored, hoping it is so insignificant that it won't matter, as board members and administrators can't be putting out fires all day long. However, when a significant misrepresentation is voiced, there's a compelling need to set the record straight. For instance, recently I've learned that there are folks who believe and are spreading the word around town to neighbors and friends that the price tag is not capped and that the amount could escalate up to $20 or $30 million. That statement is not factual, it's just plain wrong, and can severely damage all the groundwork that has been done to get the right information into the hands of our residents. So, I want to read to you, to clarify this, the amount is the amount that is stated in the warrant article, $7,994,500. It cannot escalate. I understand that it happened in a neighboring town. It will not happen here. Gino Baroni, our owner's project manager, sent me this letter today. He said, to answer the question, will the project overspend the warrant article amount? No. There is a guaranteed maximum price agreement that will be executed between the district and the builder upon a positive town vote. We've mentioned this before. We've mentioned it in our presentations, but apparently some people have missed this point. This is provided as a means to see all charges to the project, and if any savings occur, they will be returned to the district. We, however, do not suggest that anyone count on funds not being spent, but that there is protection allowed in the agreement for the district and the taxpayers of Hampstead. That's one of the benefits of having an owner's project manager work with us, okay? He goes on to say that unless there is direction, specific direction given by the district to add scope, or there are concealed conditions or extraordinary occurrences that current experience-based contingencies cannot fund, he says, which is unlikely, given the due diligence process undertaken by the school district in hiring an owner's project manager and to advise and facilitate this process. He said the RFQ, RFP process undertaken to select the architect as well as the builder Because all these things have been in place, because they've been transparent, we've known from day one what the cost is going to be. He says the agreed upon of the overall project budget of $7,994,500 is what it's going to be. It could be somewhat less, but it's not going to be a penny higher. So for anyone in town who's concerned about that, there's your answer, okay? So if you just heard, we're working with a highly experienced construction team. There is our owner's project manager, Trident, who has provided transparency in that all costs have been reviewed and made public. Dennis Myers, the architect, actually worked on the Hampstead Central School in some capacity in the past, and the builder, Bonnet, Page and Stone, was involved with the building of the middle school and Pinkerton's Stockbridge Theater. So these are also entities that we're familiar with, we've worked with before. Overall, this is a very highly documented process that has been fully assessed and analyzed by experienced professionals in order to define the design plan that best meets our needs. It provides for a safe and healthy environment for students and staff that is conducive to learning and provides for a community gathering place for all residents of Hampstead. So basically, I guess I'm saying at the end of the day, if for whatever reason you don't want this addition, you have the right and the option to vote no on March 12th. However, no one should have the right to intentionally stir the proverbial pot and mislead their neighbors and friends by disseminating misinformation around town. So, that's all I say. Hope to see everybody on March 12th.
Yeah, I would just add
Please
to that. We've been talking about this since I've been on the board, and I know that it was talked about prior to me even joining this board. So for the better part of the last decade, and even a little longer, we've been talking about this and the needs for it. Over the time that I've been on the board, we've tried to highlight really some of the key issues, right? We've talked about the fact that we have an elementary school with the youngest students in our district that doesn't have a sprinkler system, and how we think that's absolutely critical. And we've talked about the safety and the security upgrades to it in terms of the entranceway to the building and shutting down the portables. One of the things that we've never extensively discussed openly on this board, but it's sort of underlying a lot of this, is the concern over an active shooter or an event like that that none of us wants to imagine could ever happen. I'm proud that this board has taken affirmative steps to mitigate some of the risk, shutting down the portables, adding an SRO, taking some of the steps, but we really need the voters in Hampstead to help us take the final steps on this, because there's only so much that this board can do on its own. And so we've talked about it, and we've tried to address those things that we can. We've talked repeatedly, and you heard it again tonight with Mr. Geary. From a practical standpoint and an economic standpoint, the idea that we have a highly inefficient building in certain areas, particularly when you have a part of your building that's almost 80 years old, it's bound to be inefficient and not up to current codes, but also the 60s wing as well. So, certainly we have talked about those areas that are in desperate need of upgrades. And I've tried to answer a handful of questions here and there as they come up. To Karen's point, it's very difficult for us as volunteers to try to correct everything that's out there. And sometimes it's not even a correction, it's an open question that, I'm happy to, if I see it and I have a few minutes, to try to answer it. One of the questions that came up recently is the idea of state funds, state aid, state building aid. And I put this in Facebook, but I know there's people that don't look at it or follow everything I write on there. There's been a moratorium on state building aid for a number of years. A moratorium, for those that are not in this world, means a freeze, right? So there's been virtually no state building aid for quite some time. In the governor's most recent proposed budget, there is some state aid for building. I can't remember what it was. I think it was maybe 60 million. But by some estimates, there's several $100 million worth of school building projects that are in the queue. And Hampstead is one of many building projects that are in the queue. And all that is to say that Well, if we get any aid from the state, that would be great, and it could help the taxpayers in Hampstead. That is not guaranteed. There's no guarantee that we would get it, even if it's in the budget. But I put it out there, just so that people can have some more information. And the vast majority of this, to Karen's point, is available online, whether through a reputable news service. Much of the information on the addition itself and the renovation work itself is available on the Hampstead School District website, and through the videos and the presentations that we have done over the years and this mailer that's going out to residents in town. I always cringe a little when people say they haven't heard about it, because I know we send these mailers out, and so I just hope that if you see a mailer coming through from the school district that you don't throw it away and then later say, well, I didn't know about it, because I really believe this board has undertaken a tremendous effort over the last few years to be very transparent about what we're doing. We've put out far more information than is required, because we think it's in the best interest of the taxpayers. Things like if your house is valued at so much, here's the tax impact for you, and trying to give people some perspective of what the tax impact is to them. And in some parts, to Karen's point, it's also to counteract assumptions that are being made out there, so that we can say, no, here is the factual information of how much down to the penny it will affect you based on the value of your house, so that there's no conjecture or speculation out there. We're just telling you specifically this is what the impact would be. And then to counteract a persistent rumor as well, no part of what we're proposing and asking for in Article 2 could be even remotely described as extravagant. I've said this multiple times in public meetings, we have really, if you looked at the project when it originally started, it actually included some stuff at the middle school as well. We have really scaled back the ask over the years, again and again and again. We have done things to try to reduce the cost and the burden to the taxpayers. And the notion, so that's number one, is that it's somehow it's not. It really represents what we think is the minimum that we need to do. And the second thing that is pervasive out there is that in some way, somehow, that it's unnecessary. Setting aside the safety and security piece, which I think we should all agree on, even if you don't want to pay higher taxes, we should all be able to agree sprinklers in an elementary school, we should all agree should be necessary. Putting aside arguments like that, this was designed based on current enrollment, which, again, if you watch the deliberative, if you've watched me present over the years, our enrollment is projected to stay pretty level certainly over the next coming years, half dozen to dozen years, and obviously it gets a little more hazy the further out you go, but this is based on a need that's not going away. We've talked about that, we've said that numerous times. These are needs that aren't going away. In fact, as the building ages more, it just needs it even more. So that, I've tried to address that over the years, but some of these things sort of persist in spite of our best efforts to correct these. And as always, to Karen's point, we've always encouraged people to show up to meetings, ask questions, to meet with the architects or the project manager. They've made themselves available numerous times, and through open houses and other events, we've tried to make sure that information is out there. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to say on this topic?
I think it
It's
was
all been
covered.
said? Okay, thank you. Moving on, Dr. Wilson, strategic planning update, please.
We have a question?
Madam Chair, there was a motion on the table for the mailer, and was there a vote? I think I missed what the vote was.
No.
No, we didn't vote.
I thought we did, no?
I
No.
thought we did too, because I thought you
I
talked
have the
after.
motion recorded, but I don't seem to have a vote.
Let's do it to make sure.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Close the loop on that.
Thank you for catching that. Thank you. Strategic plan. I come to you usually in August and February to just give you a brief update. In your packet is kind of our journey, and that's why I give it to you in this manner, so that you can see the steps that we've taken all along the way. We have 4 goals. I don't want to go through this in detail because you have it for any questions that you may have. But one of the things that we decided to do to keep the focus on this is that 2 of our administrators have taken the lead in one of the 4 goals. So it makes it a kind of a nice partnership. So Dillard Collins and Francine Flynn have been really focused on strengthening the commitment to prepare our students for the transitions between the schools and the grades. And also the notion of responsibility of their learning. And if you look at the first page there, you will see under February 2019, that's some of the work that we've done this year. So you can see the progress that we've been making. That whole section is really around making sure that we are making sure that our students have some successful transitions, and we've done some surveys and talked to kids, talked to parents, and it's leading us, I think, into the right direction, making sure that we're going forward. We've done a lot of work with what we call the e-portfolios for students to be able to kind of show where their work is and the progression of some of their work. Again, that goes with the responsibility of learning. Setting goals. The middle school has done some nice work in goal setting, and following up, the elementary school is going to be doing more work with that with grades 3 and 4. Francine and Dillard have also been looking at the transitions, which I've already talked about. The second goal is really around refining our programs to create strategies for kids to be able to feel physically safe, emotionally safe. It's really around that educational risk-taking. And along the way, we've done a lot of work in making sure that we had an opportunity where we ask kids, how's the climate and how's the culture? Some of the things that we've done in order to refine some of that educational risk-taking and some of that safety is, through the support of the board, hiring the SRO, the social worker, some of the things that we need to do in order to make sure that we are really focusing on what kids perceive in terms of their world as far as being safe. Karen Gallagher and Maria Denola have been instrumental in making sure that we focus on what our programs are all about. And sometimes the programs can change from year to year. Title I can change from year to year. This year we changed it. Instead of having one teacher available, we now have 2 tutors available. We're reaching more kids. So in order to make sure that we describe what our programs are, we have to write it somewhere and post it. And that's what we've been trying to do a little bit more, is figuring out what we do for RTI, write it down, write our procedures down. What do we do for advisory? Again, write it down, identify it, write it down, and make sure that we have descriptions, that everyone has the same idea in their mind, because it can look different depending upon how you interpret the different programs. So we've been doing a lot more work with making sure that we are descriptive, and we share that out with staff with our different programs. The third goal is around the positive school culture, and through that we implemented the tripod survey to make sure that kids are feeling comfortable about their educational environment and how they receive their education. So we got some good feedback on that. Teachers have the feedback on that, and we're going to be doing some instructional rounds in the upcoming month to visit classrooms to see how we are doing as adults. So we will make sure that you get some feedback on that as well. Doris Bucco and Lynn Joseph have been instrumental in that section of the strategic plan for the positive school culture. And then lastly, Dr. Dancy and Dr. Cheney have been working together on the communication goal, both external and internal, and really focused on what's our messages supposed to be for what audiences. I know Dr. Dancy's done a lot with our website and making sure that it's a little bit more user-friendly, and I think we're getting some good feedback on that. So you can see we're moving forward. We keep focused on it, and next year is our last year. We're hoping that all this kind of comes to fruition, and then we start all over again. So if you have any comments, let us know, and we'll keep working.
It was a pleasure to be part of the formulation of this strategic plan, and it was a lot of work, and very appreciative to the administrators, teachers, parents, community members, and other folks who helped come up with a strategic plan that we're looking at now. And I hope that there's similar enthusiasm as we go into the next strategic planning cycle, because it's so critical. And that's where we identified, Karen has referenced a few times, I mean, we identified things like we want to get rid of the portables, we identified things like FLES, as we talked about what we wanted the school to become. And it's really critical. I would, just a couple of thoughts on relative to this is, one, I think it's really important that the administration continue to do what it has done relative to this, which is to come to the board and say, look, we set out a strategic vision, and here's what we're going to need to get it done. The system of care that we talked about tonight, that was a direct reflection of the board and the community saying we need a better system of care. Then the administration says, okay, well, one of the ways we're going to get there is with a social worker, for instance. There's a gap in our ability to provide a true 100% system of care. We can fill that, but we're going to need some help. And then the board recognizing, like, yeah, we want that, so we're going to have to staff for it. So I think that's really important. The other thing, too, is, and I've talked about this for as long as I've been on the board, the notion, Dr. Wilson, you mentioned it, the educational risk-taking. In order for us to continue to move forward, we have to be innovative. We have to continue to look for our areas of innovation. Those innovations can come at the classroom level with a teacher trying out a new method, a new style for doing whatever it is that they're doing. This could come as a district-wide thing and upgrading systems and adding a mobile application for our district, because that's the vast majority of parents are checking the internet on their mobile devices, and so we're meeting them where they're at and communicating and disseminating information in a format that works for them. It can come in a lot of different areas. One thing that Dr. Metzler and I have talked about at some of the conferences that we've been to is, just to lay it out there, we're 1/5 of the way through the 21st century. If we're still talking about 21st century education, like we got to figure it out, we're way late to that game. We have kids in our school district right now that will be alive in the 22nd century. We should be talking about how we prepare for that as opposed to 21st century learning. Like, we're way behind if we're still trying to figure out 21st century learning, all right? So part of that is that notion of innovation, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done aligned with this as we've put more emphasis on STEAM education, as we've brought robotics into more classrooms, as enhanced the Ventures program and looked at that as an incubator, which I think it can continue to be a real incubator for new and innovative teaching methodology and ideas, project-based learning, a lot of that happening in places like Ventures, and then leading into the classroom, because I think that's where we got to go. So I could go on for hours about this because I spent a lot of time on the strategic plan, but I'm very happy to see it progressing, and I hope that we have a similarly aggressive and aspirational strategic plan that comes around the next time. So, thanks.
I think the benefit for all of us is that everyone is on the same page, moving, these goals and objectives. And, it's kind of a dance sometimes. We have to come to you, ask for resources. You want to look for justification. We're able to give that to you. So, it's nice when it all comes and it's synchronized. So thank you for your support on our goals through this process.
Yeah. I just want to echo that. I think that we're very fortunate that we have a board and an administration with educational leadership, that we're all in sync, and that we operate as a team. And I certainly would be remiss if we didn't include our community members who year after year have given us the resources that enable us to continue with our initiatives. Mm-hmm. So I want to put that out there also. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Policies. I'll have to read all this. The 13 policies, they're up for second read and adoption. I think we went through them during first read and really didn't have any issues with them. But take a look at them, and I'll read them just so that it goes into the record. Policy BGE, policy dissemination. Policy JLA, student insurance. Policy JCA, change of school assignment. Policy JEC, manifest educational hardship. Policy JLCE, first aid and emergency medical care. Policy JLC, student health services. Policy JLI, safety program. Policy BEDG, minutes. Policy IMBD, high school credit for 7th and 8th grade coursework. Policy KB, parental involvement. And policy EHB, data records retention.
I think I recall,
Policy,
oh, sorry, I'm so sorry.
other side, policy AC, non-discrimination, and finally, policy EEAF, special use of school buses. Anyone have any input into any of these?
Sorry. If I recall last, when we looked at these for first read, for EHB, data records retention, there was a question on that. And I know it's still
Special ed.
highlighted.
I know what it was.
I
Yeah,
know
this
it's
was
about
the-
destroying the records after a
Right,
certain birthday.
and there was some question because it
We
seems,
looked into it.
yeah, so what,
The issue, just, to sum it up, the issue is around the changes that they're made is based on law. The law says here that there's some provisions here that the district shall allow parent guardians the ability to ask for destruction of records when students are a certain age. I think they're 26, up to the 26th birthday. We've always known that to be as well the adult student. The adult student takes the rights at special education at age 18. They can request, again, it doesn't say anything in the law about the adult student requesting that. We brought it to the attention of the School Boards Association, and who else did we talk to, Karen?
NHSAA and NHASEA, so
Right.
the New Hampshire School Administrators Association and the New Hampshire Association for Special Ed Directors.
And no one had any answers to us because, again, this was the law, the language of the law. So what we decided to do was to move this forward, continue to, kind of work this through to see if there's any change in the law that's going to come through that uses the word adult student. Otherwise, when it comes time, we'll have to refer to the adult student and make sure that they have the rights and responsibilities that we think they have, even though it's not prescribed here in the actual text. So I think move this forward. If we get some clarification, we can come back and add that language in there.
okay, thank you.
Can I have a motion to accept the 13 policies that I just read into the record?
So moved?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, board comments and correspondence. Anyone?
I've attended an initial committee meeting for our assistant superintendent search. That's it.
Jason?
I didn't write comments because it probably would have been long if I'd sat and wrote them, so I'll just say a couple things very briefly. As Karen mentioned, in all likelihood, this is my last meeting, at least this go around, because some people leave and they come back.
25 years later.
Even if it's a quarter century later.
Yeah.
It's been my pleasure to serve on the Hsdsb School Board, not just because this is the district, the town that I grew up in, the school district that I came up through, and I get to see former teachers and interact with some folks that I have known for the better part of my life. But it's also been a pleasure because I truly believe in public education and the power of public education to be a great equalizer for all students. And to the extent that in our small town, in our small state, in our little corner of the United States, that we were able to have an impact and that I was able to be a part of having a positive impact on what I consider to be one of the top school districts in the state and one of the top school districts in the country, and I put us against anyone. Then I'm happy about that. I'm happy that I was able to do that. Obviously The frustration is, a lot of Article 2, and our inability as a town to get that through, because I think it really is critical. Originally ran and joined the school board because I had some concerns about where the district was going, and I had made it clear at that time, and I was happy to join the board and to try to give my input into the way I felt like the district needed to go. And I will say that I feel like I'm leaving the board in really good hands. I really respect my fellow board members, and I think, contrary to what some people try to suggest every now and again, we're not always unanimous. But I do think that we are courteous and respectful to each other when we're not. A lot of times we are, and it's a reflection of, we do sort of align on a lot of big issues, but we're not always 100%. It's not always unanimous vote, but like I said, we're really respectful to each other, and we're able to proceed with that notion of mutual respect. I think that there's a lot happening within the district and within the SAU, and over the next year or 2 years, there'll probably be some changes that will be going on, and we'll have to see how some of those things play out, obviously. But I do think, I have really high confidence in the quality of the Hampstead School District and our ability to continue on, and I know our students are going to get a quality education based in no small part to the quality of the teachers that we have in our classrooms. And I would just say that the other part of why I've been so honored and had just a great time serving on this board. It's not just my fellow board members, but it's the administrators and the teachers and the support staff and all the people that go into making the Hampstead schools really special. And being on the board, you get to really see day in and day out the work that's being done behind the scenes that a lot of people don't get to see. People just assume that the school operates and the lights stay on and kids are getting an education, but they don't see everything that goes into it, and the time and the effort that's spent on it. And public education across this country is, again, responding to national trends, is under attack. Public teachers are under attack across this country, but I'm proud to say that that hasn't happened here, because I think we have a board and a community that really respects our public educators. I wish they got paid more, because quite honestly, it's shameful what we pay public educators, but we do the best that we can, and I do think this is a board that really tries to do what it can to support our educators, because we know in the end that's going to lead to better outcome for the students in this town, and that's really what it's all about. We're all here because of the students, and trying to put forward the best school district that we can, and the kids. So it's been a pleasure. You guys know you'll see me around. But whereas this is my last official meeting, or in a special meeting, I just wanted to say that it's been a pleasure to serve with you.
You will be greatly missed, but we wish you well.
Not by everyone.
We wish you, everyone on this board, and we wish you well in all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Oh, what? I don't think so. We're going to do the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Of course.
Well, as you know, I don't feel very well, but I'm here, and I'm really here, because I didn't want to miss your last meeting. I'd feel awful if I missed your last meeting. So, what people don't know about Jason, he was an outstanding track athlete in high school. That's why he knows so much about the Pinkerton track team, right? But I have to tell you, on behalf of the SAU employees and Hampstead employees, leadership takes courage, and we appreciate all the things that you've done for us. You've inspired us. You have our back. You make us feel appreciated. People don't know this. Jason would show up at our annual SAU office party, to appreciate and thank and certainly inspire our office employees. So, you'll be missed, but your leadership has been admirable. You make all of us want to work harder. You make us all want to be better at what we do. We need more Jason Cipriano. So thank you for everything. Thanks for your friendship, but more importantly, thanks for everything you've done for both the SAU and for the Hampstead School District. We all really appreciate you and everything that you've done. So thank you.
Thanks.
You want me to, personnel report. We have a personnel report. First, I would like to go through a retirement. This is a retirement that is going to be really hard for the district to accept, but we knew it was going to be coming at some point. Doris Bucco, who has worked for the district for 38 years, most currently as the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. She started as a teacher with us and has certainly grown, and she is going to be retiring. So I would like you to accept the retirement with most regret, in that everything she's contributed and tirelessly worked at, and just a consummate team player. So I have her retirement here for you to accept. If you want to do that now, and then I'll move on to the other agenda item for the request for leave.
I'll make the motion that the board accept with regret the retirement of Doris Bucco.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. She already left.
Yeah, I think it was a little hard for her to probably hear that. The other request is we have an elementary teacher who is asking for a 1-year leave of absence, which is part of the teacher contract. It is allowable, for an opportunity, a teaching exchange program overseas. And so she's asking for a 1-year leave of absence, which generally means that, she has the ability to be able to come back next year and resume her career with us.
I'll make the motion the board accept the request for a 1-year unpaid leave of absence for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second.
Any discussion?
Presuming that we approve this, I would think this would be a great opportunity to do some cultural exchange between the two schools.
Yeah, you're way ahead of us.
I had in my head video conferencing, but
We need some distance learning equipment for that. We've been talking about that. Perfect. I mean, it would be another perfect example of the relationships and the building that we can do. So did you?
Okay, all in
Vote?
favor? Nope,
Okay.
Thank you.
unanimous.
Yeah, thank you. My report, just to give you some Pinkerton numbers, we started the year at 461. We now have 456, so we're down by 5 students. That's pretty typical at this time of year. I am still working with Drummond Woodsum for the Pinkerton contract. There's some language that was added, so I wanted to make sure that they saw the language for the wording, since it was new. And I'm understanding that I probably will get it tomorrow. It wasn't available tonight.
Okay.
So anyway, the contract will be on the agenda for the next meeting. Have attended the system of care and watched that grown very protectively, because I'm very invested in the system of care and making sure that that moves. So we've been watching the committee come and collaborate and doing a great job at some of the things that they've been putting in an action plan. Attended the data security workshop. That was a lot of fun, Dr. Dancy. And really, that's all in the House Bill 1612. Again, a lot of work, no money budgeted for it, again, but I can't tell you the amount of work that Dr. Dancy and his department, Joe and Don and Joe, are doing under his leadership. And we're on board to deliver what's requested, which is the governance plan, by June 30th, so we're working hard to make sure that happens. And I was going to make a comment on behalf of Dr. Metzler, but he's here tonight, so I will make the comment from me. And of course, Jason, thank you for your tireless support, your leadership. You're always constantly thinking about the future, what our kids need, and we will appreciate, we've appreciated everything you've done in the support of STEAM, technology, enrichment, and we wish you well, and we're going to miss you. So come back and visit. And I'd also just like to say, we also, extend our best to Kathleen Abrazizi and thank her for the work she's done in the last 3 years she's been here on the board. And her attention to details was very much appreciated, as well as her willingness to volunteer on numerous board committees. So thank you to Kathleen.
Have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't believe there's any other business or old business, so we are going to move into a non-public, the RSA 91A:32C.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you.
It also might be,
Mr. Cipriano?
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney? And Mrs. Yusenko?
Yes.
Thank you.